Give us a few minutes. We'll get started. Get your questions in the chat. Welcome, Max.
Hey, guys. Get your guys' questions in there. We'll get to them in a moment. Excited to get into it with you guys again for another week. We've been enjoying these, though. This is our third one only, Ron, I think.
Yeah, I've been liking. I like this format. We get a lot of, obviously, different type of people than just the people in our Discord on these YouTube. So I'm excited for this, guys.
Absolutely.
Get your questions in there. Let me share my screen here. Actually, I'll give it a minute before I share my screen.
Can you guys hear us all right? I see you, Max. How you doing? Comment if you guys can hear us. Let us know where you guys are tuning in from. Megan threw a question in there. Welcome in, Megan. Max is in here. Welcome.
And give everyone a few minutes to get on in. I know it takes a little bit sometimes. Let me check the YouTube, make sure everything's working properly. Hey.
Oh, Megan put a deal in there.
Nice. Greg. Welcome, Greg.
Welcome, Greg. Jeff, welcome. Lakeland, Florida. Got it. Not too far from me. I'm over in St. Pete. You guys can hear
Lakeland. Is Lakeland in the hurricane? Is he joining us from the middle of a hurricane?
Hey, Lakeland's right up north of Tampa, right?
Probably a little worse up there, huh? How's the weather there? Who was that? Jeff? Jacksonville. A lot of people about to get hit from the hurricane. Jacksonville's going to get hit a little bit from after it comes through the shore, right?
I don't know. It kind of took a detour there. Went north instead of inland.
Germany.
Welcome, C. Ross.
Welcome, Brandon.
Germany in here. Aren't you supposed to be in bed?
11:30.
Or 12:30 probably. Cool. We'll get started here. Can you guys ever use a loan for this? Get your guys' questions in. Hurricane isn't bad where we're at. Good. That's good, Jeff. Sweet.
Tampa. All right, cool. Let me share my screen.
There, Darren. So yeah, you're in the right spot here. We'll let some trickle in. We got a lot of people joining. Really cool.
All right.
All right, good to go.
Go here, Dan. Go here. Get our screen up. All right, so welcome again, guys, to our weekly call. Some weeks it's going to be YouTube. Sometimes we're just going to do this on Zoom. Make sure you guys are subscribed to our emails, everything like that, Instagrams, to get updates on where these are going to be. We text you guys as well. I do like these YouTube. I think they've been doing really well. I've been enjoying kind of the different group of people. All questions are great. Get your questions in the chat where you guys are putting where you're from. Get your questions in there. If you are sending us a deal, APN, county, state, purchase price, any other info on the property is very helpful to us. One deal per person. And like we said before, put in the chat where you are joining us from. We'd also love to hear kind of your guys' land experience. So let's get rolling here. Darren, you can send a question just how you put that in. So just in that YouTube chat, in the YouTube, that's how you can submit your questions, and we'll get to them. If we miss something, please let us know. What are we doing today?
And what's everyone's background in here? I'm curious. Like, what's your level if you were 1 to 5 land flipping? 1, this is the first time you're really researching it or figuring stuff out. 5 being you've done deals, you feel great about it. I'm just curious where we're at so we can kind of take those questions accordingly.
It's a good question. Love to hear where everyone is in terms of that.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to some questions here. I'm going to pull Megan's deal up here. We'll start with the deal. Why not? You guys should be able to see that. So I'm going to pull up our mapping software that we use. It's id.land. I'll pull that question off here in a second so you guys can see. Once I get it up, give me a second. So we have 6.5 acres. Says she won't take less than 32 as far as selling it to me. Resell. Thanks in advance. All right, so seller wants $32,000 for this piece of land, Caldwell County, North Carolina. I think, Megan, did we go over one of yours last week? I don't remember the deal particularly, but I remember Caldwell County.
Caldwell County, yeah, I do remember Caldwell also from last week. Yeah,
this isn't the same deal, I don't think.
Doesn't look like it.
All right, cool. Let me pull off this question. You guys can scroll up and see it, but I want you guys to be able to see the screen better. So this is, like I said, id.land. This is our mapping software that we use. Does really well for us. And I'm going to pull up a few overlays. So, and we also have a YouTube video going over ID land in a lot more detail if you go to our YouTube page. And Let's go over this. So it is decently sloped, Megan. That's definitely something to look at. So these are 10-foot lines, which isn't crazy, Dan, but I think you're definitely going to have buildable areas. I would think these aren't like 10-foot lines aren't too sloped, right?
That northeast side of the property, like right up there, is probably your building spot, I would imagine.
This is going to be a great building spot. This does slope down. Let's see what we got in terms of everything else. I'm not overly concerned about the slope. Floodplain.
No, and those lines, guys, where how Ron had those. So he's looking at contour lines, which is just the slope of the land. So between each one of those yellow lines he had up, there's 10 foot in between. In that case, it was going downhill.
10 feet of drop, yeah.
10 feet of drop. So it's going downhill, and the slope those contour lines just tell you how it's sloping. They look confusing if you guys haven't looked at land before, but you get used to them pretty quick. The other things he's looking at, the FEMA flood zone, seeing if it's in a wetlands, things like that. Just making sure we have a good property. This is just 101 due diligence, just getting our eyes, understanding the land.
Exactly. So I also clicked floodplain. There's no floodplain here. I'm going to click wetlands. No wetlands, water features, no water features on the land. Anything else? Like, it's pretty straightforward land other than the slope. You do want to get boots on the ground to make sure the slope's not worse than what it looks like, but pretty straightforward land, Dan.
Yeah, I like that little land. How many acres are we at?
It's 6.5. Boundary saying 5.7. Not overly concerned about that. So now it just comes down to price, honestly. So let's scroll out, see where we are relative to everything else in the county. Then let's see if we can find some comps and see what we think the sale price is. Yeah.
So first, guys, we did a land check, as you guys just saw. Let's just make sure we're buying decent land. Can give whose deal was this? We can give Megan's any feedback that we have on the land, anything to look out for going forward. That's step one. Step two is looking at the price. If both those things check out, Megan's usually in a good spot. If one we have question with one, sometimes we'll give them her feedback to what direction to go after this kind of type of deal. So that's what we're doing here for you guys that are new. We had a lot of 1s and 2s in there, Ron, for my question before. So I'm trying to be a beginner as possible. So it's great to have all the new people here.
So what I did, guys, so like we said, we looked over the land. That is checks. I wouldn't say this is A land, but I would say this is B- to B land, Dan. I think that it depends how severe that slope is when you actually get boots on the ground. And now we need to look at price. Like, does the price make sense? We're buying for 32. The way we do our business model, we're going to want it to sell for at least 60. There are other options if you can sell it for 45, 50. But we look to double our money or about double our money on most deals. So we're in Caldwell County and we're in this northeast portion of Caldwell. So ideally we can find some comps up closer to here. So let's see what we got. We have a lot of probably comps. Let me change to home type and change lots and land. Right now I'm on sold comps. We have 6.5 acres. Again, this is where our property is. It's right around Kings Creek, I would believe. So anything in this vicinity is going to be a solid comp for me, I believe. I'm going to actually go to for sale first, Dan. Let's go 2 to 10 acres and see what we're competing with on the market.
And that's what we like to look at, guys. First, like, you want to really dial down on the location and your size. We have a 6-acre piece of property. A 6-acre piece of property that's next door to us would be the best comp, because then we're location and size and property type. So you want to get as similar properties as possible. Obviously, with comps, that's what you want to do. The problem in rural America, that's a lot easier said than done. There, you can go 20 miles without having one comp, so it can get really challenging in that way, and that's where it takes some time and patience.
Yeah. So we have 4 acres that was just posted here recently, 4 for 90. I did notice, Dan, when I went into this before, this is in a golf community. These 3 lots, it's 3 total lots. So this one is going to be, I don't think it's great comp in terms of what we're looking for. Sorry, I didn't mean to click out of there. Let me get back in. There's some expensive ones up here, Dan. Where is that 6? I saw a 6. Yeah. This 6 one is actually right outside of Lenore, 6.65 acres. And this one is priced at $109,000 with 19 saves. This is a big thing we look at. If you have 2 times the amount of saves as days, it's a pretty good thing. Your first 5 days, you probably want 10 to 15 saves is a pretty good starting point. This is an interesting comp, but it is much closer to the city, Dan.
Yeah, exactly. But
a lot closer. We're way up here.
it's still a comp to factor in. You might just take a little off of that. So if that's 100 up there, maybe we'll be about 80. That's what we're going to look into, Ron.
We do have some comps like right here. These are comps very, very close to where we'll be selling our property. 2 for 32, which is lower. I want like 4 to 8 acre comps ideally. Here's an 8.7 for 75.
And what are we in, Ron?
We're in for 32. This one has a garage on it. It's 15 miles outside of Lenore. Not overly in love with that comp. There's just not a ton here. Here's 7.81 with some improvements. Aluminum fence, 6 gates. Yeah, it's got some improvements for like a barn. 9 for 89 here, Dan. This might be our best one. It's 10,000 an acre.
Yeah, I mean, that puts you in a good spot. I would do this deal if it was ours. As long as
I don't think it's going to double your money here. Shoot, I forget. Was it Megan? I think it was Megan. Sorry.
Yeah, Megan Lamb.
I don't think you're going to quite double your money personally, but I think there's a good chance you can get 60 out of it. If I had to guess right now, I would guess closer to like 52 to 55,000 will be the sale price. That being said, I mean, you're in for 32. I think it's solid. I think it's a solid deal.
Yeah. How long did that 9 take to sell, Ron?
Good question. I think this is in the community too, Dan.
You can look into individual comps. We always say we'd rather take 2 to 3 good comps than 20 comps all over the place. We
sold
really
very fast.
And this is one of the things we look at. Scroll down more because our faces are in the way, so they can see that, Ron.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So what we're looking at here is you can see when it was listed for sale, and then typically it shows pending also. In this case, it doesn't show pending. It just sold. It just says sold. So it went through the whole transaction in 20 days from when it was listed to actually getting their money on the back end. That sold probably within a day or two, is my guess.
Yeah, this one does look like an HOA or something.
Question for it.
I think it's a solid deal. If you're funding this yourself, you're not looking for funding, I think it makes 100% sense.
Yeah, this is a good deal. Good job, Megan. Really solid. Make 30 grand off of it.
Like you said, Dan, a lot of 1s, a couple 2s in here. Scott has started our program here recently. Welcome. Happy to have you in here, Scott. Scott's saying 2. He just started. First time, 2 to 3, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2 to 3. Just getting introduced to flipping. From Germany.
In there, how are we getting these type of discounts? I think they were talking about Megan's deal there. So how did Megan buy that for $32,000 when it's worth $65,000 or whatever she ends up getting from it? Megan, did you send blind offers? But the name of the game in this business, how we do it, I don't know how Megan specifically did this, but what we do, we have 2 methods. We do blind offers or we do texting. Blind offers is essentially I'll send a letter to Megan, and if it was, she sent blind offers, perfect. So Megan sent a letter out to this owner, let's say Pat, and he said, hey, Pat, I want to buy your 6 acres for $32,000. We can close in cash in 2 weeks. And this is our value proposition. Then the second page is an actual contract for the seller to fill out and sign and execute. So that's how Megan got that lead. We do this in bulk. Like Megan didn't send out 10 purchase agreements to get this. Megan probably sent out thousands of purchase agreements.
Yep.
And she's getting deals back. Megan, how many, just in this county, how many purchase agreement or how many letters did you send out, blind offers? We typically get about 1 per every 2,000. And our profits are very similar to Megan's, like buy for 30, sell for 60. So the profits are really there. But that's how we actually get the deals. If you guys are, whoever put in the 1s and 2s and don't really know about the business, we send out a lot of blind
2,300 mailers
on it. Yeah.
So she said 2,300 mailers. Also, you guys can see the value is obviously more than 32, what she's buying it for. There's a lot of expertise going into actually determining this value. I still can't tell you if this is going to sell for 60 or 55 or 53. We don't know. But that being said, she did a good job getting it at a clear discount. But comping land is a very, very difficult thing, and it's a skilled thing where if you learn how to do it, there's a ton of value in it. So she sent 2,300 mailers, probably cost her $1,200, $1,300 in mail, and a potential $30,000 profit deal, Dan.
Yeah, really good stuff, Megan.
All right, let me see if we have any questions. I know I saw one I wanted to click. Can you use a VA loan for this? If it's like a cash loan, I don't know, honestly. Hurricane.
It's a good question. I don't know either. It's a business loan. Can you get or do VA loans, are they for businesses too? So if you can get a generic business loan and use it for this, that's what you got to ask them. See if there's restrictions. I know like SBA loans has restrictions. You can't be a bank when you're an SBA loan. So I can't take the SBA loan and use it to fund other people's deals and things like that. Have you guys ever flipped any land for industrial real estate? Are there different requirements?
Good question. There's different zoning. Like there are going to be cities. Usually when you're in rural America and you get industrial properties, you get commercial properties, the zoning is a lot lighter than if you're in a closer to a metro area. But that being said, it all kind of comes down to zoning. Finding, like if that looked hard as far as finding the price for that 6 acres, finding the real flip price for industrial, for commercial is extremely difficult. You need either to get the property ridiculously cheap or you to have buyers in mind. It's definitely a different strategy, but there's a lot of money to be made. You just got to be aware of all the zoning requirements, everything like that.
Yeah.
And you got to know who your end buyers are. If there's a bunch of industrial land all empty and stuff like that, it's probably not the best property. But if like you have that one lot in between a bunch of industrial factories, that kind of stuff, it's probably, you probably have something there.
Exactly. It's a whole different strategy. It's a whole different niche. It takes a lot of expertise and specialization for sure. And I like it. Like we love niches and specialization. It's just, that's nothing that we've specifically as focused on, but your question was, can you? Absolutely.
Yeah. We've done deals like that. We've done a decent amount of commercial deals, but it's not something we're targeting specifically. All right, let me get this deal up here, Dan. If we have any other questions in there, put questions in there, guys. If you guys don't mind, Dan, please hit subscribe on the YouTube. We put out a lot of free content on there. We are really increasing our content volume on there. So the little subscribe button right below our video, if you guys do not mind, if you guys want more free content, please hit subscribe and you'll get notified. Hitting the notification bell also will notify you guys a little more than just the subscribe button, but would really appreciate that. And I think there's a lot of value there.
Yeah, appreciate you guys for doing that for sure. We do have a question in here from Fausto asked, should we be waiting for interest rates to come down? We're not using traditional banks in this business model. We're either acquiring cash essentially, and we acquire in cash from something called deal funding. So we're not going to a bank to buy, Megan's not going to a traditional bank to buy that piece of land. She's going to go to either one, if she has that money sitting aside, if she's been doing this a while, it's a very lucrative business model. She might have that money sitting aside from her other deals. I'm not sure what Megan's situation is, or she goes and gets deal funding. And that's where you bring a deal funder. We do a lot of deal funding. A lot of other people do deal funding in the groups. But essentially you bring the deal, you show them the deal. Then I, as the deal funder, will put up 100% of the money, and then we'll come up with a profit split. And getting ahead of it, because I know they're going to say what the profit split is, Ron. We always get that question second. It's usually 75. You'll take home 75% of it. So the deal funder puts up all the money, and they'll take 25%. After a certain time, it trickles to 35, 45, and then 50-50 typically. So it starts at like you'll keep 75% of the profits all the way to 50-50. And it just depends on your experience, the deal size, and a couple other things.
Yep. All right. Okay, so let me get this other deal up, Dan. You guys can see the question at the bottom. Charlotte County, Florida, seller wants $65,000. I am going to pull that off so you guys can see a little better. Let me share the screen, get it up here. All right. So this is 5 acres. One thing, like our initial check, guys, and you'll see this a lot in Florida. Like one thing, whenever I'm looking at a deal and you see a subdivision, like you want to see how populated this subdivision is. This is one that is very far from being populated, maybe 15%, maybe a little lower. Like this was all split and you have all these vacant parcels. This is not a great initial thing for me. We'll keep on looking at this deal, but this is something to keep in mind. Like you don't want this, called a paper subdivision. All these, you can see all these lots right here, Dan. None of these even have road access. None of those have road access here. Like this is, it's just subdivision that didn't work out, but we can definitely take a look and see what we have here.
Yeah, another thing in this area, where's this, Charlotte County? Another thing you just want to check when these are built or when this subdivision was put in. If it's sat like this for 20 years and no one's building, it's typically for a reason.
I mean, just clicking on one of these, let's see, it's a mobile home, which is interesting. So yeah, this is 2004. So this is not a new subdivision by any means. You do have a floodplain, which is weird that the two properties built on were in the floodplain. Let's see wetlands. Okay, so your property is 100% or 90% in wetlands. I would not do this deal. I would imagine this deal, even if this wasn't in wetlands, wouldn't work out. But with this being pretty much 100% in wetlands, there's gonna be no use case for this. The only weird thing is, Dan, that this property is very similar. I mean, that property's dead. That house is dead in the center of the wetlands.
So yeah, that is odd.
I think we're going to come to the same conclusion, though. Like, these subdivisions like this are extreme. Like, there's just not money to be made in them. Someone's trying to offload their property. I don't know what the situation is, but there's just not going to be money and stuff like this. These subdivisions are not.
Kay asked if she should avoid properties with wetlands and flood zones. Flood zones is different than a wetland. You can typically build in flood zones. You just need flood insurance, flood zone insurance, FEMA insurance, all that stuff.
Yeah. Wetlands is worse.
Wetlands is where it's actually wet most of the time. It's not. These overlays are not always accurate, though. So you want.
This isn't a house, though, Daniel. Look at this.
Yeah, that's not a house in there.
Just a bunch of trash.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But the first thing we look at with this, like Ron said, there's 100 properties or more in this subdivision. I don't know how many, and 15 of them are built out. Why? And this was from early 2000s, late 90s, whatever it was built. The subdivision was planned out. Why are they all still empty? Like, why aren't people buying? That's usually like, you're going to need to sell this to somebody. And this is not a desirable subdivision from what the market's showing. People just aren't moving in there. Now, if it was within 2 years, I'll look at it different. If this was just 2 years ago and they did this and it's just new, so it hasn't filled out, then we look at it a little different.
All right. Yeah. Spot on. All right. Let's get this off here.
Oh,
Megan said her dad's a member. What's your dad's name, Megan? Have you ever utilized creative financing?
Is Gary your dad?
Oh, shoot. Yeah. Lamb. There you go.
I didn't connect the dots. Nice.
Like Gary is too young.
I got a letter from Gary on our Kentucky property.
The one that we were holding out. Yeah.
Yeah, we're holding it long term, but I got it. It was good to see the letter. It looked good. Looked really good. So it was from Gary Lamb, and you sent for their Grant County, Kentucky property. It looked good. You guys are getting deals, huh? I like it.
Very cool. Have you utilized creative financing with land buying? Are you talking about like owner financing stuff?
Or sub two? He's probably talking. Are you talking about like sub two type stuff or like seller financing type stuff? What are you smiling at, Ron? What's that big cheese lip? I don't know what's on your mind. So on the seller financing side, keep an eye out for that answer, Ron. On the seller financing side, yes, there's plenty of that to be made. Selling your land on seller financing, holding it, or selling the note. You can make good long-term cash flow from that. You can make a ton of money. Who just did it? Don just did a really good one with that. I think it was Ron. I can't remember. But yeah, you can make a ton of money off seller financing. If you're talking sub two, and that we don't do any of that with land. I just know that's popular in the community, so that's why I asked about that one.
Makes sense. Right. Let me see what we have. Charles, bring that to the members call if you don't mind.
Let's see if we can answer a couple more questions.
Get your last questions in, guys. We do have a members call following this at about 6 p.m. Eastern time. Obviously, members, you guys hop over there once we're done with this. This will be recorded, put on YouTube, everything like that immediately. So if you guys want to rewatch anything like that. What is Act 319 in Pennsylvania, or just zoning? Does that matter, or just zoning? I mean, I'll look it up and see what it says. I'm not familiar with what it is.
Yeah, Act 319 Pennsylvania. What did I read in this General Assembly?
Guidelines to understanding. Let's read it together, guys. Clean and green info.
Oh, clean and green. How many acres? 10 acres to, it's a new act for
fair market value and agricultural use value.
Is it just
these new values have been certified by county tax bills are calculated for each? I think it's a tax thing. I don't know if
conservation.
Yeah, it's going to be, it's not every, when a county embraces on Act 319 is required by state law to place two values on each parcel of land that is 10 acres or more in size. These values are known as fair market and ag value.
Conservation.
Yeah. So if they enroll their property in Act 319, they will get a reduced tax bill. There's probably going to be restrictions within the land. There will be restrictions on the land. A lot of states do this. It's very common.
They call it different things in every state. A lot of times you'll just see like conservation, something like that. It's where you have to abide by a set of rules. And this is the green bill or something, it said. So I'm assuming you're going to have to do everything green and leave it alone and let it be, not destroy the land in any means. And in return, they'll pretty much eliminate your tax bill. That's very normal.
Yep. And then, Fausto, did you want us to look at a certain thing in the county? Or Rio Rancho? I don't know if that's a city or a county. Go ahead, Dan.
I had another question that I had, and I'm looking for it now. I think it was, it was on deal funding. So to go back over what that was, guys, Megan's $32,000. Another person asked about the deal funding, Ron. Megan's $32,000 deal that she's getting and selling for $60,000. Megan is using deal funding. In this case, it's her dad. Friends and family are great because they'll make a lot of money. You'll make a lot of money. And she's splitting the profit 50-50 with her dad. Win-win, right? Keep it in the family. We did the same with our dad. So we do the same with a lot of our family. And it's just a way to pay for your land, both make a lot of money, and it's fun. They don't need to find the deal or do anything. They put up the money, and then Megan markets it, sells it, and you split the profit. So that's how there's a ton of people who deal fund. If you guys are like, oh, I don't have $100,000 to buy $100,000 property, you're wrong. We funded deals $300,000 last week. We fund $135,000 last week. We fund all kinds of deals. So there's plenty of money in the group.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you join our program, if you do this yourself, start making cold calls, like getting deals under contract, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million. If you find a good deal, you will be able to get funding. There's so much money available because the margins are so good in land investing. Whether it's Daniel and myself fund a ton of deals. We've had new members come in, Dan, with $3,000 to find their first deal. They use it all on mail, and then their first deal is $300,000. They sell it for $600,000, and they make like $200,000 with no money out of their pocket other than the marketing money, which is crazy.
Yeah. And that really does happen. It's not always on. That's the thing. It's not always on your first mailer. Some, it might take 2 to 3 different set of mailers. You might be 5,000 in the hole before you get your first big deal like that. But it pays off tremendously. It might take you $500 to get your first deal for $30,000 profit. It just really depends. But the other way that I want to touch on real quick, and then we have the members call, is another way we get deals is from texting, and that's a lower cost to get into, Ron.
Yep.
And the reason we do that is, one, you can touch leads in different ways. So pretty much we'll still pull the data, we'll still do the same stuff, and then we'll text a bunch of the landowners. Very straightforward. This is all in the program as well, but that's a lower cost up front to actually get in. It's mail 60 cents a letter. It's expensive. You're sending 2 pages, the contract, the introduction page, and then it goes in an envelope with a stamp on it. And that's 60 cents total. And we send out 2,000 to get a deal on average. That being said, we get a lot of profit at the end. It's average like $23,000 of profit per deal. So it all makes sense, but it's harder to, some people don't have that money to put to mail right away. So you got to text, and we teach both of those methods.
Texting is cheaper. It's not more successful. Mail is much more scalable.
Oh gosh. The thing with texting, with mail is we can send out 10,000 pieces of mail, have a full-time job, and do this on the side, send out 10,000 a month, get 5 to 10 deals, make 6 figures every single month with having a job, because your leads are so much more qualified. Texting, you send out 10,000 texts, you're going to get 2,000 responses. You're going to have a full-time job just responding to these people who don't even want to
You'll get deals though, but it's not more successful. It's cheaper.
Not more efficient. Yeah. Cheaper, not more. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Fausto, I'll answer your question real fast. I don't have time to actually go over the market. I like this area a lot. One thing as far as like choosing a market, we don't go for on-market properties, but in terms of like this market selection, I'm a big fan of it. I think you having knowledge in your backyard, I think is a huge advantage for sure if you're in the right market. If you do end up joining, obviously we go detail on how to select a county and see if it really lines up there. To answer that. And last thing, guys, before we hop off, if you guys want, again, please hit subscribe if you guys haven't hit subscribe. Also, if you guys are interested in scheduling a consultation about our program, anything we offer, we do offer a program on how to get deals, just like Megan going through the program with her Dea. That's how she got that deal, buy for 32, sell for 60. landinvestingonline.com/consultation.
Putting the link in there, so the link is just put in there.
You put it in there. I don't see it, Dan. Yeah, Dan, so you guys should be able to see at the bottom, landinvestingonline.com/consultation. It's a 15-minute call with one of us. Again, we go over the programs that answer any questions about the business. Very valuable, I think. And yeah.
Yeah, and thank you guys all for subscribing too. I saw Shaz just subscribed. A bunch of people subscribing. We really, really appreciate that. That's what makes us come back next week to YouTube Live instead of Zoom. It's more accessible to people, and it just shows that you guys appreciate it. So we appreciate you guys doing that.
And we have a long form YouTube that just came out, actually, a podcast with me and Anthony, one of our employees, on, I don't remember what it's on, but you guys can check it out. It just uploaded to our page, a long form YouTube, about 20 minutes. If you guys need anything, obviously reach out. If people aren't in the Discord, Dan, actually, too, landinvestingonline.com/Discord. But other than that, guys, we'll do this again next week. Not sure if it's going to be on Zoom or on YouTube. We'll definitely keep you guys updated. Other than that, have a good week. We'll see you guys next week.
It will be based on how many people subbed if we do it again.
Yeah, if we have 50 subs, then we'll do YouTube next week. If we have less than 50, then we'll do Zoom. There we go.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining. We'll see you guys soon. If you're members, hop in the member call.
All right, bye, guys.